Spoiler ahead, you've been warned.
So, you're Spider-Man.
While the previous franchise starters began from scratch and explored the origin of its titular hero, the Marvel Cinematic Universe largely skipped over Spider-Man's beginnings. With Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, a show originally announced as filling in the gaps of the origins of Tom Holland's web-slinger until it was reworked to be its own thing, creator Jeff Trammell not only finds himself exploring familiar territory for his titular hero, but also for the franchise the show is not supposed to be part of. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man picks up on Peter Parker's first day at Midtown High School, in which he witnesses Doctor Strange come through a portal and stop a venom-like symbiote from harming those nearby.
Where are we? Oh no, we're not supposed to be here.
Though is also bit by a spider that falls through the portal, turning him into the titular hero. The show follows Peter in his early days as a hero, while also partnering with Norman Osborn, who begins to mentor Peter and offer his help through his corporation to improve his crime-fighting skills.
My name is Norman Osborn.
Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man's writing offers meaningful character moments. Some are left by the wayside, but most evolve meaningfully. With the show being comprised of 10 episodes and introducing characters not previously seen in the MCU, save for a few exceptions, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man does well to focus on the character development of its core cast, albeit to a mixed degree for a few. Peter, most notably, feels like he's going through the same beats many other Spider-Man incarnations have explored, namely his uncertainty regarding how he approaches his crime fighting when he proves unsuccessful. Some other characters feel like they are underdeveloped as the show progresses. Kathy Yang's Pearl, Peter's crush, plays out largely similar to that of Laura Harrier's Liz in Spider-Man: Homecoming, having charming moments with Peter and some surprising ties to certain villains. But despite brief spurts of agency, she still never feels like more than a love interest for him and Lonnie. Similarly, as much time as Aunt May has in the show, and despite frequent mentions of Uncle Ben, it feels like she's never given enough volition, much like Marisa Tomei's incarnation of the character. That said, many of the other characters in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man are given meaningful moments to evolve. Lonnie is one of the more notable of the roster who sees the most development as the show goes on, progressing from typical jock to thoroughly intelligent figure, while scenes focused solely on him also showcase his more tragic background. Similarly, Harry Osborn's growth from an egotistical influencer to a well-meaning friend is an enjoyable evolution to watch. The show's world-building feels bizarrely constructed. For a show not set in the MCU, it's certainly leaning on it. Ultimately, one of the more frustrating bits about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is how it goes about fleshing out its wider Marvel world. It's been confirmed by multiple members of the creative team that the show wouldn't be part of the MCU, and yet it leans so heavily on many characters and events from the franchise that makes it all the more baffling why they didn't just say it was. The Sokovia Accords become a major plot point, and references are made to both the Chitauri invasion and Ultron's creation from the first two Avengers movies. Though these may be some of the more recognizable events in Marvel, Trammell is really boxing himself into a corner. The history of Marvel Comics is so expansive that the show's decision to repeat many of the same events from the MCU rather than pull from the comics is bizarre and unoriginal. While the shift away from Tony Stark being Peter's mentor to Norman Osborn is refreshing, and not seeing Mary Jane Watson for the umpteenth time is a good change, there are so many stories that the Avengers and other heroes have been involved in. Stiff animation and questionable casting choices also undermine the show. There's a lot future seasons need to learn from this. The other major issues facing the show are its cast and animation style. In an effort to homage Steve Ditko and John Romita Sr.'s Amazing Spider-Man comics, the 3D cel-shaded animation does have moments that provide a nice stylish aesthetic, particularly a few of the fight sequences and comic book panel edits. However, the animation is still often stiff, particularly when it comes to many characters' facial movements and conversations, immediately sapping the emotion out of certain scenes. As for the cast, this show arguably rivals Euphoria for casting actors who do not fit the high school mold. Though he previously played the character in What If? Hudson Thames is not a very good fit for Peter, and Eugene Bird sounds far too old for Lonnie, though he finds the appropriate emotional beats of the character, while Coleman Domingo is wonderfully effective as Norman. Given the show is already renewed through Season 3, here's hoping your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man's future learns what didn't work and turns it around, or else the show just won't stand out from its web-slinging predecessors.
Peter! 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 Peter!